Ladies and gentlemen, whoever is out there watching, another very warm welcome. My name is Mark Drax. This is another SexByte interview on behalf of SASH, the Society for the Advancement of Sexual Health. Today, I have the great pleasure of meeting with an old friend who I've got to know over the last few years, Diane Hovey. A very warm welcome to you.
Hello, Mark. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. I'm in England. You're somewhere in Central America, and that is central part of the United States, not Central America.
Minnesota.
Minnesota. There we go. What's it like in Minnesota today?
Oh, it's glorious. It's crispy. I don't even know what the temperature is. Under 70. It feels wonderful.
Beautiful, nice and clear. So you're still enjoying the tail end of your summer. I think we're trying to do the same over here on our little island. Diane, we today are meeting. Thank you so much for your time. We're going to have a brief chat about the fact that you are presenting very kindly at our conference in what is now only about 3 weeks away. You'll be there, and a bunch of people will be there. We've got a fantastic turnout for this year's conference, which is very exciting. I've got the title of your speech here, your presentation. You're going to be talking about becoming congruent, ethics in practice and healing. So why don't I hand over to you, and if you could tell people what this is going to be all about.
All of us, especially right now, have been going through a lot of demands, right? And it really has been pushing the question of how do we as healers stay in a place of being able to care for others and ourselves. So essentially, it's what I'm going to talk about is the ethics of taking care of self. It's not just it's not just a thing to do. It's critical that we care for ourselves, so that when we are bringing ourselves into our practices with our clients, we are able to connect with them, be with them.
Mm-hmm. Tell me, I mean, what is this topic specifically? Where's it? What's driving you with this? What's the passion in you? Where's it come from for you personally?
That's a good question. Well, if we talk about wounded healers, I've had one heck of a path before me or behind me. So there's been a lot of opportunities to have to practice this. Actually, one of the very best advice I got many years ago, my youngest daughter had a very serious accident. When she was in the hospital, the doctor told us, you need to go home, take care of yourselves, because she's going to need you. And if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to be there for her. And that was probably the best advice we got at that time, because it was at a time when you couldn't even imagine self-care. But yet he put it in the forefront. So I'm very grateful for that advice then.
What an immensely powerful story. How long ago was that?
My daughter turned 35 yesterday. And it happened when she was 14 months old. So wow, that is several decades ago.
Amazing. So this really has been a very long personal journey for you.
Oh yeah, that was just the beginning of it. You know, life happens.
Life does.
And the good thing about life happens is we have so much to learn along the way, and we're all going to go through bumps. A lot of us, especially my clients, will come in and, well, they'll say, for instance, let's say I'm working with a couple. The couple will say, everybody thinks we're the perfect couple. You know, so I think that represents how we all put on a good facade. But behind it all, I don't know anybody that doesn't, at the stretch of their arm, at least have trauma somewhere in their family. Or if not trauma, just very difficult situations that they've had to navigate in life. So how we care for ourselves, how we store or story that experience is very important on how we're able to manage our own lives and then help others.
It's such a wonderfully strong indictment of what this is about, taking care of ourselves. I must have said to every client I've ever helped at least once, if not 100 times, when they talk about their family, their children, etc., I say the best thing you can do for your children is to take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of
Mm-hmm.
ties into what you're talking about. And I relate so strong to the subject. I'm 55 years of age, and I have been in recovery, working recovery for sex addiction since the 14th of June 2004. So it's been, that's not a short journey for me either. And so I herald you bringing this to the forefront, because I have come across in my time, as I have no doubt you have, people who love to hang off the fact that they are a wounded healer, but they're not necessarily doing their work. And
we have to do our work. It's essential.
Yeah.
It's essential.
Yeah.
Especially because as we go in, we've all had things in our life that have been challenging. And if we're working with somebody who touches that same challenge in some way or another, we need to be able to stay present with the people we're working with, as opposed to going off into the challenges of what have befell us before.
So, Diane, is your presentation, is it going to explore into, are you maybe going to give examples of when therapists might be triggered and how to notice that, how to deal with that? Is that going to be part of your presentation?
Actually, I'm doing two presentations. So the first day I'm doing the one on the ethics of becoming congruent. And then the second day, I'm going to be doing the hands-on presentation for how can we actually dive into and do this? Mm-hmm. What are some creative ways we can do this? Mm-hmm. Because, well, that's one of my huge passions and huge likes is all things arts, but not just art in the fact of let's do a fun little project. What is the art that allows us to do deep sea diving, to go beneath what's on the surface and to really understand the things that are driving our behaviors? And then how do we reshape them so we don't have these old stories continuing to drive us in ways that we don't anticipate?
I love what you just did and said, deep sea diving. I've never heard that phrase. I'm a scuba diver. So I'm a passionate, it's probably my most favorite hobby. And I've never made the jump from using that term from scuba diving into mental health. So thank you for that. I'm going to poach that one. That's a really cool. So tell me why this subject. I mean, you and I, we both work in this profession, so it's very clear to you and myself the importance of your topic. But tell our audience, why do you think this is so specifically important to sexual health?
Okay, so we are sexual beings, first of all. So we have to, and in order to be a healthy sexual being, we really have to be in touch with who we are. We have to be well ourselves in order to be able to bring ourselves into relationship with others. And that starts with relationship with self. So as we learn to take care of ourselves, know who we are, know how to manage our own sense of emotions without being in reaction to others' emotions, we're able to better be present with people.
I love in the bio you kindly submitted as part of this presentation, you wrote, to be that self which one truly is. I really picked up on that by Rogers. This is something that I've taken most of my lifetime to learn how to do, and I think I'm getting better at it. But and you said earlier words to the effect of, yes, it's so important to do this. But correct me if I'm wrong. What I've observed, and with my clients, let alone fellow colleagues, you've got to want to do this. The old expression, you can lead a horse to water, you can make it thirsty, but you might not necessarily make it drink. I mean, right. What's your experience with that? You've got to really want to grow and remain open, remain curious, yes?
Oh, yes, of course. You have to want to do that. So, and what drives our want becomes really important. When I was doing my graduate research, back in the day.
You mean a couple of years ago?
Couple of years ago. One of the things that really drove me to understand, my area of study was disability and chronic illness. And my specific research was looking at what are the meanings that people hold and how do those meanings drive their decisions. Now, in order to get at meanings, most of us don't talk about meanings. Mm-hmm. And in fact, we don't even think about them until we run into them. So when our life has been turned upside down and inside out, as happens with many people, all of a sudden, these things this meaning is there slamming you in the face. And if you don't understand it, you're not going to be able to react. So as you learn to react in a better way to this, you're able to bring yourself present into the beings so that you know how to work on yourself. And there's a reason why to move forward, as opposed to who the heck cares. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have a reason for yourself, if you're doing it for somebody else, it's hard to hold on to. It's hard to hold on to all the hard work. So if you can bring it forward to why does it make a difference that I do this for myself? Then we're able to move forward and heal ourselves in a way that's important.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you. Makes total sense to me. When you were creating this presentation, did you have a specific audience in mind, or would you say this is across the board in terms of our industry?
Well, I was doing it specifically for thinking about SASH and all our members. But as I get into it and talk about this really applies. This not only applies to those of us who need the help of a guide, but those of us who are guides in whatever shape or form that may be.
Yes.
And that's what I like to think of myself as, is a guide. In fact, I usually tell my clients, just think of me as your tour guide. So when you come in here, you're telling me you want to go to Machu Picchu, and that's the way we're going to go. But if you don't tell me that we're changing, that you really want to go to the Great Wall of China, we're still going to be going to Machu Picchu. So, and if you don't like flying and you don't tell me, we might still have a challenge. So this is a collaborative process where I get to be your guide, hopefully a wise guide, and lead you where you want to go. So it's a collaborative process, but they have to take charge of where they want to go and why they want to go there. Otherwise, we'll just be spinning.
Diane, I know you to be such a kind lady, and I love your effervescent sense of humor. And I think that anyone that comes to you is going to be very lucky. We've been through as a planet a pretty strange time through the last two and a half years. Have you noticed anything changing in taking your subject matter specifically, the importance of congruence, the importance of doing our own work? Have you noticed anything change in yourself and or others because of the last 2 years, because of the fact we've been for so much of the last 2 years stuck in our homes? Or do you think that, has it got better or worse? Have practices increased? What do you think on that one?
I think there's probably two key words that I could use to describe kind of the challenges that people have been going through. And one, I would say there's been a general erosion. And the other, I would say it's been overload. And maybe I should do it in the other order: overload and erosion. Because I think when we get to overload, we have too much on our plate, too many things to juggle and handle. That which we consider to be important, our values and stuff, it's like you're worn out and you're tired, and you're not even thinking of them as much as you would in another situation if you weren't so overloaded. And, and politically, we look around what some things have been happening, and it doesn't seem to be the respect for others, let alone self. And if we can't respect ourselves, how can we heal?
It's a wonderfully powerful observation. Dan, you talk of overload. I just want to clarify for myself and our viewers, are you referring to the overload of people like you and me who are overloaded because of the backlash of the pandemic? Is that just the specific overload you're talking about?
Well, it's more than that. The pandemic, yes, that's a huge thing. How did that impact us, either business-wise or family-wise? Having a daughter who's very fragile, of course, that has been a concern along the way. But we have wars going on. We have political tensions going on. There seems to be more polarization when it comes to political issues, and as opposed to a coming together, it feels like there's more of a tearing apart. So as things are like that on the outside, we can't be congruent. So how do we help ourselves be congruent so we can come to all these situations where there's a more integrated process going on, as opposed to self-serving processes, as opposed to things that numb instead of fulfill.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for making it so clear, the link between the two. And you also talk about the word erosion. Could I just say erosion of what specifically?
Okay, I like to think of ourselves, the core of who we are is we're always in a state of becoming. And if we do things, and part of that's becoming is our values, our meaning, our purpose in life. And if the things that we do that don't contribute to our becoming are part of our erosion. So for somebody that has an addiction, erosion would be any of the things that take them away from sobriety, or the slippery slope that takes them away from sobriety. Erosion, let's say you're the partner. Erosion is being all the things you don't want to be because you're angry, mad, and ticked off that somebody has betrayed you. And so you're betraying yourself because you're not being the person you can be, and the person you want to be, and the person you know you are. So there's so many ways that this can happen. We never arrive, which I think is important in the process. So we're always in the process of becoming.
Mm-hmm.
Because once we think we got there, there's only one direction to go. So we're either becoming or eroding, and that's the balance we always have to manage. And if we're not mindful of it, we need the mindfulness in order to continue becoming and to continue integrating all that life throws at us, which sometimes is not so fun. A lot of times it's not so
a lot
fun.
of times I would agree with that. As you speak, Diane, I'm sitting here remembering at one of my courses at university, like you, a couple of years ago, I read for one of the courses I had to read Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and one of the only quote I remember from that book is it says, "The greatest fool is he who believes he has learnt enough." Now, clearly, to be correct, we could say she today, or whatever pronoun you want to put in there. But the point being, anyone that gets to a point in their life where they think they know it, that's it, that's enough, they're done, means that they've just cut their curiosity off at the neck, and they're failing to learn from thereafter. So I so herald what you say about the beauty of life. How many times have we said to our clients, this is a journey, not a destination?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that comes with wisdom.
Yes, I like to think so. Dan, give me a couple of takeaways that you would like to people that might come to this presentation in 3 weeks' time. Give us a couple of takeaways that you would like people to leave with after this presentation.
I want people to walk away feeling energized, and that what they do for themselves and for others matters. And so we who bring ourselves to work with others are the tool. And how do we take care of our tool? How do we take care of us? How do we sharpen it? I picked up a fun thing in the last couple of years. I decided to do some chainsaw carving.
Chainsaw carving. That's not for the faint-hearted, Diane.
Well, it just seemed like a cool thing to do. So, but when you think about tool, you think about the power of a chainsaw. Most of us think of ourselves as maybe more like a pencil, being inconsequential. but we really have the power of that. And if I don't pay attention to that, that could be disastrous.
Yeah.
So we have to think about ourselves as tools. And how are we maintaining those tools and taking care of the tools? So we are a safe, welcoming place for people to get help on their own healing journeys.
I'm remembering part of your bio again here that you wrote for our conference. You wrote, as I have it on my left screen here, as therapists, coaches, and guides, we are ethically obliged to provide competent care and human. We as healers become tools of healing that are powerful yet fragile, tools that can slice to the core in the act of healing. This power requires ethical responsibility. So, I mean, I love this topic, Diane, I really do. And because we both work in this together, you've known me a little while now. I've known of you probably longer than you've known of me, but I know how much you put into this, and I know how well trained and how versed you are. So anyone that comes to this presentation, I absolutely believe will walk away enthused and recognizing the critical importance of doing our work and congruence. So any final thoughts before we wrap this up and then leave our watchers, viewers, the opportunity to come and see you in person at our conference?
Final thoughts. I would say that the most important thing is to be open to possibility. And secondly, to be willing to trip along the way. And what I hope that people walk away from this conference is we have a lot of ways to open ourselves to possibility.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I'm remembering, I think it was Winston Churchill who said something, I don't remember the quote, but it's something like, it's not that we fall that defines us as humans. It's what we do when we fall that
Absolutely.
truly defines us.
Absolutely.
And you look at any successful person out there, the only difference between someone like Elon Musk and someone stacking shelves in his car part store is the fact that Elon Musk has probably failed a hell of a lot more than the guy stacking shelves. I like to think of life that way. It's just a question of what we do when we fall.
Exactly. On an interesting note on that, last night I was at, it's a CEO group that I'm the part of. And what was interesting is one of the guys who was talking very blatantly said, there isn't a month that goes by where I don't feel like, is my business going to fail? Now, these are successful CEOs. These are ones that have been in business for quite a while. And that I don't think about, am I a fraud? Yeah. And what was interesting was not his comment, but how the whole audience responded, because you could feel everyone touch base with that. Wow. So in order to be a successful CEO, what do you have to be able to do? You have to be willing to face all those potential falls that go along the way. Yeah. And pick yourself up and keep going and keep shooting for possibility.
I love it. I love it. Diane, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. Always love connecting with you. Thank you so much for your time today, but thank you for what you're going to be doing for SASH for us at our conference. And I'm only sad I'm not going to be able to give you a big hug rather than a cyber hug here in Zoom.
Yeah, lots of cyber hugs.
That's a cyber hug. There we go. We'll sadly So I very sadly miss you, but thank you for what you're doing, and have a wonderful time at our conference. I will be zooming in and supporting where I can from little old England, but I'll miss you.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for all you're doing. Yeah, I really appreciate it.
Well, likewise, keep going with all you're doing, because it's badly needed, Diane. Thank you so much. Listen, huge hugs, big hugs from England, and hope to see you before too long. For now, thank you so much.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.